Hey everybody, Ashley Francis here, the holistic psychotherapist. I'm a licensed therapist in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And before we get into the content of today's video, I just want to remind everybody about our brand new membership community. It's something that I'm very excited and proud about. This is a place that is designed for people like you that are like-minded, that are into holistic health. You might be into a little bit of Eastern, a little bit of Western, maybe interested to just learn about holistic healing in general. So if that's you, this might be the place for you. If you're looking for a sense of community, just a place to connect and feel heard and feel seen and valued and supported, and also, you get access to some exclusive content that we are not able to offer here on the YouTube channel. So if you're looking for details about our membership community, look in the description below. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into today's video, which is how to cope with the differences of political views that differ from your own in relationships. So this can be with in romantic relationships, platonic, work, you name it, anybody that you come into contact with. And I'm sure you've come into contact with people that have different political views than you. And sometimes that can be hard to manage. So I want to talk about my top 5 tips that I prescribe to clients, that I use myself to be able to manage the differences that we experience that go along with political dissension. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first is to listen to understand, not to respond. I'm going to say that again. Listen to understand, not to respond. Now, at face value, this sounds pretty straightforward. It sounds pretty easy, right? But it's not. It's really not that easy because we're so used to being in a conversation with someone, and there's a lot of stuff that's actually going on when we're in a conversation. We're trying to listen, we're trying to interpret, we are trying to develop what our response is going to be. We're thinking, we're using a filter of, should I say this or should I say that? So there's a lot of stuff that's actually going on when we're engaged in a conversation. And it's pretty common that when we're listening to somebody, when it's our turn to listen, we're already developing what our rebuttal is going to be, our response, whatever it is. But we're not taking the time to slow the pace down and actually listen to what it is that the person is saying. We are so focused on developing our response that we're not listening to understand. And this is a skill set. It's something that takes some time to be able to master. But one of the best ways to do that is to be able to repeat back what you just heard that person say. What I heard you say is da-da-da-da-da. This is a really good way, one, to kind of keep you in that mind space or that mindset of being able to listen to understand and not to respond. But it's also a way to create a good pace between the two of you and to allow the speaker to be able to correct anything. So if you're reflecting back to them, this is what I heard you say, and they say, no, actually I said this, well, then you get the opportunity for some clarity. And so this is a form of active listening that can go really, really far when it comes to trying to understand someone else's political beliefs. The second is to decide if it's something you can live with or not. Now, sadly, there are some relationships that are not going to make it. They're just not going to make it. That is clear, plain, and simple. It is just the truth. And if political dissension is something that you feel very strongly about, like you would never date a liberal or you would never date a conservative, and you're very clear about that, and then lo and behold, you find yourself in a relationship with someone that is staunchly on the opposite side, you may be one of those people that needs to bow out of the relationship. Again, this can be a platonic relationship, work relationship. You may need to create some distance between you and these other people. But just know that if that's the case, that's okay too. That's totally okay. It's up to you to decide if it's something that you can live with or not. And if you don't want to live with it, that is okay. The third is to get curious. Get curious about why does this person feel the way that they feel. And I know that in my own personal experience, one, this has been super hard, but two, the things that I've been able to learn about that person's life, their childhood, their background, the things that they've been through. That's really what shapes our political beliefs, right? It has to do with our upbringing, where we come from, the part of the world or the country that we've grown up in. All of these things play a factor in developing how we see the world, the eyes that we look through. And of course, that's going to determine what our political views are as well. So if we can focus a little less on what's their stance on abortion, or how do they feel about gun control, and listen to what are the stories behind why they feel that way, it just kind of adds this human element to them. And then you kind of feel yourself start to soften a little bit and have more empathy for them. And the hope is that they're going to do it with you too, that this goes both ways. Next is to focus on what you have in common. This is one that really works best for me. I have a family member who is just on the stark opposite end of the political spectrum from myself. And it can be pretty challenging to listen to this person express their views. But what I try to do is I just focus on what we have in common. And thank God, it's a lot. We actually have quite a bit in common. So we just make it, or I make it rather, a decision to not talk about politics. This person in particular prefers to talk about politics and does it often, but what I've just done over time is I've developed a boundary, which is that if you're going to start talking about politics, then I'm going to leave the room. And I've actually started to implement that. And lo and behold, it's actually pretty funny. Whenever I would get up and go to a different room, I would notice that that family member eventually would follow me. They'd come to where I was, but it wasn't to continue the political conversation. The conversation ended and it switched to something else entirely. And so now I do this every single time this person engages in political talk, and it works like a charm. Works wonderfully. And last is to stop trying to change the person. Oh my God, could you even imagine what this world would be like if we would just stop trying to change other people? And this one's really big within the context of romantic relationships, right? Because there's just something about when we're in a relationship with somebody, there's this preconceived notion that they are now a representative of us. This is my husband. This is my wife. So whenever they are talking about their support of Trump, it makes me really embarrassed because I feel like they're speaking for me. Or if my wife is talking about Biden, it's super embarrassing for me because it's the opposite of what I believe. But really, at the end of the day, we're our own individuals, right? And if we treat our spouse, view them as an individual that is separate from us, where we've just chosen to come together and spend our lives with one another, alongside one another as individual entities, well, then we have a lot more tolerance for what they believe in, right? Because they're not a part of us. They don't represent us. So I hope this information was helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Give this video a thumbs up, please. And as always, subscribe to our channel. Take care.